Hey, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys. Today's video, we're going to be talking about our top features on the S2950. That's our brand new 18x zoom S-style camera. Before you watch this video though, check out this one that covers off all the startup functions and basic on this camera, okay? Excellent. So now we're going to get into the top features on this camera. As again, I mentioned at the beginning, probably the biggest draw to this style of camera is this 18x optical zoom. It's basically equivalent from a 28mm wide angle all the way to 504mm, but it's hard for you to picture what we're talking about. I think if we cut away now, Billy, and you show them what that lens can do for them, does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah, let's do that. I did a video earlier, so let's take a look at this video to show you the zoom functionality of this camera.
Excellent. Yeah, now that really shows us what this lens can do. That's awesome. Way to go, Billy. Okay, so the other thing that we really want to point out on this style of camera, and not a lot of the cameras in this price point with this long zoom have this feature, but it's really, really important to have an electronic viewfinder.
Of course, one of the biggest benefits of the 2950 or the S2950 is the ability to use the electronic viewfinder in order to take photos, especially in bright sunlight, but also the benefits of holding the camera allows you to hold it a lot steadier. You use the EVF button on the back to actually jump up to the screen. As you can see, if I can change that for you, you can see a kind of a live view of what you're taking pictures of. You can also use that feature too to look at images. So again, if you look at images outside, again, you can push the EVF button and it jumps up to the top screen as well.
Okay, now after seeing that, I would never buy a camera that has a long zoom like this, but also does not have an electronic viewfinder. You gotta have the electronic viewfinder. Billy, this camera, although it's shaped like an SLR, it's got a professional quality lens on it, it is designed to be ease of use, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it can be like a point and shoot camera. In fact, we have this, what we call the SR Auto mode, which is a scene recognition auto, and it switches automatically determining the type of scene you're shooting, whether it's a portrait, a landscape, a close-up macro shot. But again, let's just take a look at some of how that actually works and how to get that running on the camera.
Show us how to do it, okay.
Let's take a quick look at the SR Auto mode found on the Fujifilm FinePix S2950. In order to get to that mode, basically it's on the command dial on the top or the mode dial on the top, and you can just twist it to SR Auto. That is the default mode, and that mode will automatically select different scenes for you. If it is a close-up shot, it's going to automatically know that and adjust the focus and let me know that I'm shooting in the macro mode, as you can see. So when I take a picture, it's going to be properly exposed. If I have subjects in the scene, it's going to pick up it and set it up to the portrait mode automatically. Again, if I zoom in a little bit, if you can see on the screen there, that is picking up two subjects' face, and it's going to shoot in the portrait mode, as you can see down on the bottom left-hand side. That's just a quick look at the scene recognition auto mode. Of course, it does pick up other scenes like beach scene, backlit portrait shots, night scenes, etc., etc.
Anyone can understand that. That makes it as simple as possible to get beautiful pictures using the SR Auto mode on this camera. Really allows the camera to do a lot of the thinking for you. You can focus on your subject and it can take care of all the other stuff. So we talked how easy it is to use, but you know, this is shaped like an SLR camera, although it's a cool size, a smaller size. Can I play around and do manual stuff as well?
Absolutely. There's a couple of shooting modes in this. I mean, there's a program auto, which is basically automatic, but it opens up a few extra options like white balance, exposure compensation, stuff like that. But when you want to really go into manual, there's also a shutter priority, which is the S mode, the aperture priority, and full manual control. So let's just take a look at this quick video I shot earlier on how to enable that mode and to use that mode properly.
Check it out.
Now this camera can be shot in fully automatic in terms of the scene recognition mode, but it also features some manual controls. And by switching the dial on the camera to one of the modes like shutter priority, you can actually change the shutter speeds on the camera. To do that, you push the plus and minus sign. It brings up the controls to adjust the shutter speeds by going faster at 1/2000th of a second, or by pushing up and going to as slow as about 8 seconds, which is a very long exposure. Again, a long way for me to go. There we go, as you can see. And the aperture changes automatically, of course. Now, if you switch it to the aperture priority mode, the opposite is true. If I push the plus or minus button, I can now change the aperture control on the camera. Whether with this one here, though, you can basically select wide open or close. And the zoom, by changing the zoom range, the aperture will also be effective as well. So it becomes an f11 at that point. If I zoom out, it becomes an f6.4. If I select it to f3.1, if I zoom all the way out again, the aperture becomes a 5.6. So those are the minimum aperture ranges on this camera. Really, there's really only two, wide open or close. And of course, you can set it to the manual control, and now you basically control both aperture and shutter speed. So I'm going to zoom out, and then by pushing the plus minus, I can push up and down to change the shutter speeds, and I can push left or right to change the aperture as the aperture number changes. So this little thing here sort of is like the metering on the camera. It's telling me it's underexposed. So what I need to do is change that shutter speed and make it actually slower. So I'm going to push up, and as you see, that gauge automatically starts to move higher and higher as I change the shutter speed, becomes slower and slower and slower until it becomes completely washed out, which is over in the plus side. So to get an even photo with this camera, I would set it back until it's somewhat in the middle, and when I take that photo now, I'm going to get a properly exposed picture.
Wow, that's great.
That's right.
So even someone who uses an SLR all the time, even if they just want to kind of downsize and have a camera like this, then they're not going to lose a lot of the versatility they had with their SLR. That's awesome. So another thing you get with an SLR is high-speed shooting. You know, you see people, we say that this is a perfect camera for a soccer mom or whatever. So if they're taking pictures of their kids doing sports or things like that, is there a way to do, you know, rapid fire with this camera?
Absolutely. The camera has a high-speed shooting mode, which is another key feature of this camera. It shoots at 8 frames per second, and it actually captures about 20 shots. Although it's 3 megapixels in size, that's more than enough to give you an 8x10 print. But instead of me talking, let's just take a look at how to use that function.
Great.
A neat feature in this camera, of course, is the continuous shooting feature. To turn that on, you can be in any of these modes like P, S, A, or M. I'm just going to set it to the shutter priority because I can actually control the shutter speed. I want it to be very fast to freeze action, but it also depends on the lighting. So I do have it at 1/200th of a second here. Of course, my picture is probably going to be pretty dark in here. I'm going to push the continuous button right there. It's going to come up with a menu. You can select from the various options like top 3 and final 3. That gives me full resolution, but it's not very fast. I got a long period shooting that can take a bunch of shots, but again, it's not very fast as well. It's about one frame a second, I think. We have a high-speed shooting mode, which is a top 10, and it gives me medium resolution, but it gives me only at 3 frames per second. This is the one I want to be shooting at, high-speed shooting, top 20 pictures at 3 megapixels, but it's at 8.8 frames per second. So I'm going to select that. Again, I'm just going to pre-focus on my shot and hold the shutter button completely down. And you're just going to save all 20 shots onto my memory card. A great low feature if you want to capture action, of course, with the camera.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Following that subject and those high-speed shooting modes, that's awesome. Well, so far this camera is shaping up to be a pretty well-rounded piece of equipment. So I love doing pictures of flowers, anything in nature. I'm always sticking my camera in as close as I can. Does it have a good macro mode?
Yeah, Greg, one of the versatilities of this camera is that not only does it have an 18x zoom, you know, that goes all the way to 504 millimeters, and it's wide angle at 28, but you can also take very, very close-up shots from 10 centimeters away, or even as close as, well, actually 5 centimeters away, sorry, Greg, and as close as 2 centimeters away if you actually enable the super macro mode. So let's just take a look at how we can get this function running and some of its practical features. Another great feature in this camera, of course, is the macro functionality. You can get close up to about 5 centimeters away. On scene recognition auto, it automatically switches that for you. But if you're in a mode, say like program automatic, which is basically automatic but gives you a little bit more control over the camera, in order to turn the macro function on, you push the macro button and select, push it and select macro, and that will give me about 5 centimeters away. If I push the macro button again and highlight super macro, it now gives me 2 centimeters away. Let's take a look at how these images look like outside.
Wow, I love the
pretty
super
close.
macro. Wow,
Pretty close.
that's unbelievable. So I know that another new cool feature, and this camera's got it, is the motion panorama. This is where we are able to take, you know, pictures and kind of they're sewn together to give us more of a panoramic view. Great for scenery and even large buildings or interiors like real estate agents. So tell me how that works.
Yeah, on the camera there's actually a panoramic dial that you turn it to right on the camera. And what's new this year is that the panoramic mode is very simple to use. Really, you take 3 shots, but instead of you pushing the button 3 times, you push it 1 time, and it helps you tag the next 3 shots automatically. Really cool. Does that automatically in the camera. Let's just take a look at this video to see how to get that running.
Yeah, I think if we show them, it'll be easier to understand.
Here's a quick demo on the panoramic feature. As you can see, it's set onto the dial as panorama mode, and you can select which way you want to go, from left to right or right to left. Very simply, you basically push the shutter button and you take the snapshot. You'll see actually a plus and a minus, and as I line that up automatically without even touching the shutter button, it's going to automatically take the shot for me. If I do that again and rotate the camera, again, all 3 shots are being processed internally within the camera itself. It's merging those 3 files together to give me a nice panoramic image. It's high resolution images, so again, it's actually one of my favorite features to have. I push OK to save that, and again, it's very simple and very seamless. As you can see, it didn't take any effort at all for me to actually to capture this nice panoramic look of the Fuji Guys filming room.
Wow, is that ever cool? So it actually shoots it for you as soon as you line it up in the right
That's
spot.
right.
I love it. Okay, so there's other things that these cameras get smarter and smarter every year, and a lot of pictures are ruined when people aren't either smiling in the picture, or if they're blinking, they have their eyes closed. Here we have blink and smile detection now. Tell me how
Yeah, it's
that
an
works.
automatic feature. In fact, if you take a snapshot and it detects someone blinking, it just comes up with a warning to say in that picture there's a blink in it. But and also there's also a smile and shoot feature on it via the shooting position, the scene position mode.
Yeah.
And it basically, when you smile, it's like a self timer. But instead of counting down by time, when you smile, it takes the picture. Let's just take a quick look at how that
show me how
function
that
works.
sounds really interesting.
Here's a quick example of the smile and shoot mode. Again, you put it into the scene position, and by pushing the menu OK button, you can select the various scene options. Of course, we're going to select the smile and shoot. And when it detects a subject smiling in the scene, it will automatically take the picture without my fingers actually pushing the shutter. So again, you can see I'm going to pull the camera up to the smiling face, and it's going to take the snapshot automatically. Again, one more time, it's looking down, I bring it up, and it automatically takes a snapshot. So that's sort of the smile and shoot feature on the 2950.
Oh my gosh, what are they going to think of next? Anyways, that's amazing intelligence for a camera like this. There's a couple of quick other things that we got to talk about with this camera. Again, for all the soccer moms out there or anyone taking pictures of moving objects with a long telephoto lens, it's hard for the camera to kind of maintain focus if you don't keep the subject perfectly centered all the time. So tracking autofocus is a feature that kind of solves that problem. Why don't you show us how that works?
Yeah, it helps us to speed up the focusing when you want to take a shot of a scene and not have to move the camera around. If the subject's moving in the scene, by enabling this tracking autofocus, it tracks the subject. But again, let's take a quick look at this and see how it works. Another great feature in order to capture moving subject, of course, is the tracking autofocus. To turn that on, you would change the dial to one of the modes like P, S, A, or M. So I'm just going to select P for this instance. And you want to push the menu OK button. You then want to scroll down the menu until you see the autofocus mode. Push it to the right and select from the various, of course, modes, multi-mode, area mode, continuous shooting mode, and of course tracking autofocus. So I'm going to select tracking autofocus. We can push the display back button. And now when you have your subject in your sight, you can just push to the left, and it's going to turn on the tracking feature. And you can actually pan that camera, and the camera will automatically track that subject, whether it's moving or you're moving with it as well.
Wow, it's amazing how that little square just kind of follows that subject around intuitively. That's amazing. So I guess if you're out there and you're looking at this camera, either you've bought it or you're considering to buy it, you're probably wondering about the video quality. This camera, you know, even though it's primarily made for still pictures, has very good HD video mode, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it's 720p video. There's also a built-in HDMI, mini HDMI port with an optional HDMI cable, of course, to purchase, and you can hook it up to a TV to watch off these HD
So play
videos.
the HD movies straight from here, plug it straight into my camera.
That's right.
and I'm
Let's
looking
take a quick look
8D
at the
movies.
video and see, you know, a sample of how this video works.
Wow, I don't think I'm going to have to take my video camera and my still camera on vacation anymore. That's unbelievable
great.
quality
Great feature.
and very, very easy to plug in, so thanks for that demo. Hey, listen, that kind of wraps it up for this video, but I just want to let everyone know that we've got lots of videos out there on YouTube. You can leave comments for us on YouTube. We'd also like you to subscribe
us,
to
of course.
the channel, okay?
We have a lot more videos coming all the time, so it's always good to subscribe.
So if you want to ask us questions there, or if you want to follow us on Twitter as well, we can talk back and forth if you have any
Fuji
questions.
Guys.
So, got lots of great videos. Until the next one, I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys.